Right. Well, aloha, everybody. Thank you all for coming. And you all know that I'm Stuart and not Serge. Any confusion there? No. I'm talking today on how to be passively effective. And this is Talk Story, and I don't start off with a Hawaiian legend because I don't know them that well. And I do know the subject, so I'm just going to launch right in. But I want to remind you that this is a talk story, and I'm not the only one who gets to talk. So feel free to ask any questions or make any comments as we go through this. So I'm talking about how to be passively effective. Most of the time, when we think of being effective, I think that we think in terms of what is it that we're going to do? How are we going to be active and get things done? And that's not the only way to be effective, and in many cases, that's the least effective way to get what it is that we want done. So before I go any further, let's see, 2/7. That's about 29% of you have never experienced huna. Is that right, Carrie? Do you know anything about huna? All right. No, you're Suzanne. Carrie behind you. I'm sorry, you guys, would you tell us your names and where you're from? We've all done this.
I'm Carrie from Denver, Colorado.
Cool.
John Mandarin, also from Denver, Colorado.
Thank you very much. So, what we're doing here is we are playing with huna, a form of Hawaiian shamanism that is about being effective, about being empowered. And it is based on 7 principles that are not divine law, they're not cosmic truths. They are principles devised over the centuries about how things work and how we can be effective in what it is that we do. This is a shamanic path. That is to say, we deal with healing primarily, and we do it in terms of working with the unseen. Now, do you want to call it spirit? Do you want to call it ancestors, power animals? It doesn't matter. The fact is that we are dealing with more than our conscious mind. And that's the real trick. So we use that unseen energy, consciousness, power, to help us create what it is that we want. These 7 principles are based on single Hawaiian words that have many, many layers. The first one is Ike, a word that means knowledge, awareness, consciousness. And it's translated by Serge. Serge Kahili King is the one whose work it is that we are toying with today, or mangling, however you want to look at it. The world is what you think it is. The world is what you think it is. You are creating your own reality, your personal reality, if you will, by your thoughts, your beliefs, how you construct your rules of reality. So each day, each moment in each day, you are affecting what's going to happen to you and how you're going to look at it by how you describe to yourself what's going on. In essence, you are telling yourself a story that you made up. We all make up these stories. Meaning comes from the imagination. And we use meaning to put together 2 or more experiences. But it isn't the only meaning we can make up. It isn't the only story that we can tell about what's going on. But the story that we do tell greatly affects how we react. And how we react is how we feel. So we affect our feelings by the stories we tell. And the stories are based on our thoughts. So the world is what you think it is, really says that you create your reality by your thoughts, by the stories you tell, and that you can change your reality by changing your story. Change your story, change your life. Second principle is kala, a word that means freedom, and is translated usually as there are no limits. You have unlimited possibilities of what you can do, of what you can dream of, where you can go with your life. There are no set boxes that you're in, only the boxes, the limits that you set for yourself. There are no real limits there. The third one is makia, a word that means focus, and is really the other key element. Well, I mean, they're all key, but focus is one of those spiritual skills that often gets overlooked. It is so important by what we are tuning into, where we are putting our attention. It's translated here as energy flows where attention goes. What you are putting your attention on is what you are energizing. So if you are putting your attention on how miserable you feel, how lonely you feel, how abandoned you feel, how sad or upset you are, that's what you're energizing. And so, come on in. Welcome. Come on in, absolutely. So that's what you get to experience more of. Great. And if at some point you decide that you've had enough misery, delighted to have you here. Welcome. Then you change your focus. Turn your focus to the things that bring you joy. Because that's how you do it. That's how you change these things. You don't have to stay in that place of unhappiness, of anger, or sorrow. Those are choices. You have the choice, the ability to choose a different focus, and that will change how you feel. I'm open to questions if you want to dispute that or say, how does this work, or any of that. We're going through the 7 principles of Huna at this point. You've been to Serge's talk stories before? No. Well, I'm not Serge. Sorry. And I know that I'm almost as handsome as he is, but not quite. But we're going to have fun. Today we're talking about how to be passively effective. But right now I'm going through the 7 principles, the basis of this spiritual teaching that we are exploring here today. Ike, the world is what you think it is. Kala, there are no limits. I've just done Makia, energy flows where attention goes. And then principle number 4 is Manawa, or Manava, a word that means time, now, the moment. And translated here as now is the moment of power. Now, right now, the present. Right now. I love to say that yesterday is ashes. Tomorrow is wood. Only today does the fire burn brightly. Things are happening only really right now. The past, what is the past? You can't point the past out to me. You can't show me where it lives. The past is our memories and how we feel about them. Essentially the stories that I was talking about with Ike. So you experience the past in the present moment because you're telling that story right now. Right now you're telling the story. So you don't have to tell that same story. And if it's a story that makes you feel miserable, why bother? Why tell a story that makes you unhappy? Tell a different story, or tell the story differently. It can be done. You can take a story about your worst traumas, change the focus on it, look at it slightly differently, and have an entirely different response to it. It's entirely up to you how you're going to do that. But it all happens right now. And the future? Future's just speculation. And most people put their attention, for any great length of time anyway, about the future, into their fears. Fears are always about the future. Let's do a little experiment here. I'm going to ask you to get just as relaxed as you can. Relax every muscle, almost every muscle. There's certain muscles I'm going to ask you not to relax, but almost all of them, relax. Get just as relaxed as you can. And now, without tightening any muscles at all, not even the muscles in your chest or lungs, get just as fearful as you possibly can, without tightening any muscles. Yeah, so that's the usual response, is a yawn. Right, okay, now while you're doing that, get just as angry as you can, without tightening a single muscle. You guys are so laid back. They're the most laid back, angry, fearful people I've ever encountered. Okay, that's the point. By not tensing up, you're staying in the present moment. And you can't get angry, because that's about the past. And you can't get fearful, because that's about the future. You stay in the present moment, you can stay happy. And that's the only place you can be happy, is in the present moment. Here it is, be happy. The most powerful thing you can do is to be happy. There's a thought. So that happens in the present moment. The fifth principle is aloha. We all know aloha is love. It's translated here in this tradition as to love is to be happy with someone or something. To be happy with, to like, to enjoy, to feel good about, to appreciate, to have fun with, to approve of. That's love. Love has absolutely nothing to do with criticism, or blame, or judgment, and certainly not shame. That's not love. To love is to be happy with, to actively look for the things that bring you pleasure. If you want to maintain a good relationship, then you eliminate criticism. There's no need of it. Hawaiians had 14 words for criticism, one of which was to critique something. The other 13 words were for different ways that criticism broke aloha, broke the connection. One way of looking at aloha is it's the pleasure of connection. The Hawaiians love connecting with each other, with the land, with the spirits, with the sea, the sky. And criticism stops aloha immediately. There's a wonderful story that I heard one time about the woman who was a wild animal trainer, and she was very good at what she did. And she was dealing with bears and lions, and you never tell. I don't know if you've ever tried this, but you never tell a lion or a bear that they're wrong. It just is not a good idea. So what you do is you do nothing when they do something you don't like, and you reward them when they do something you like. It's very simple. But you never criticize them. Well, she had a husband who was more difficult than the animals. And she didn't know what to do about her unruly husband. She clearly hadn't trained him very well. So she decided to use the same training method with her husband, and whenever he did something she didn't like, instead of criticizing him, she would just ignore him. And then when he did something that she liked, she would reward him in some way with affection or compliment or something else. And it worked. It worked so well that even when she told him what she was doing, it still worked. So if you want a happy relationship, let go of criticism. Sixth principle is mana, M-A-N-A, and it's translated as all power comes from within. Mana is power, power in the sense of influence. That is to say, how can we affect the world around us, not how do we control it. So, when we say that all power comes from within, it means that nobody can give us power. Nobody can bring it on. We can give our power away, but all our power comes from within when we claim it. We have to claim our power in order for us to have it. And it comes from our choices and from our will. We choose what it is we want. We choose our thoughts. We choose our feelings. Most people find that one a little startling, that we really can choose how we feel, but it's true. We choose how we feel, we choose how we think, and we choose how we act. And we do so with our will. And the seventh principle is pono, the fabulous Hawaiian word. It means rightness, goodness, everything in its right place, harmony, balance, flexibility. Translated here, though, as effectiveness is the measure of truth. Does it work? All of this that we're talking about is a very practical system. If it doesn't work, why do it? We don't have any need for dogma. We don't have any need for massive rules about spiritual thinking. If it works, great. If it doesn't work, do something different. There's always another way to do something. So those are the 7 principles of Huna as we normally talk about them. But today we're talking about being effective passively. So, Ike, the thoughts you hold create your world. The thoughts you hold become beliefs. When I'm talking about passively effective, most of what I'm talking about is holding. Just simply holding a vibration, holding a thought, holding a feeling, holding. That's the essence of being passively effective. You stay in that space. So the beliefs that you hold, the thoughts that you hold become your beliefs. Makia, the key to the whole of creation is focus. What we focus on, we energize. I skipped one though, didn't I? Yes. I skipped Kala. Thank you, Suzanne. Yes, I'm in need of a keeper. So, feel free to apply for the job. Kala. We can dream anything, and in so doing, we can create anything. I did Makia. Manawa, you can't hold a bagel yesterday. You can't hold a glazed donut tomorrow. I'm sorry, that was in here for Lois, for those of you who have been here many times before. Lois always sits in the back and does the chant, and she and Earl are very fond of glazed donuts, so that was a little tidbit for them. These things, as well as your thoughts and desires, can only be held right now. So it is important to hold these ideas, to hold this vibration, things that we're going to talk about in a minute, in the present moment. That's where you can be happy, in the present moment. I want to reinforce that. can't be happy when you're thinking about tomorrow all the time, particularly not in fear. You can enjoy planning. These guys, John and Carrie, just got off a boat, right? A plane. Off a plane, flying in, and undoubtedly you guys were anticipating this and enjoying the anticipation. But the anticipation is a present time experience. So, Manawa, hold your thoughts right now. Aloha, the energy of creation is love. You love things into being. That's the essence of the manifestation process in just a few words. You love things into being. You energize them with your excitement. You visualize them with your love. And you hold that, and that's how things come into reality. Mana, essential to this formula is power. Power is the ability to make the choices we want and the will to see them fulfilled. That's power. Power isn't control. It's all about making the choices about what you want and the will to see them fulfilled. And Pono, we hold these thoughts to effect change. Power, if it doesn't seem to work, as I said before, then there's always another way to do it to bring about the harmony that we're after. So if things don't work for you, if they aren't taking place the way you want it, then you go back to the beginning, back to EK, back to the world is what you think it is, and change your thinking. Change how you're looking at the world, change your rules of reality. And you can do that, one moment, John, and you can do that because you have the freedom to do it. And you do it with focus, what you're focusing on, in the present moment, out of love, because you have the power to do it. Question, John?
Just maybe an observation that many, or maybe most of us, have spent our lifetime constructing this one worldview that we live within, and we're pretty set in that, many of us, especially as we get older. So going back and changing that takes some, to begin with, I would think, some pretty profound work to upset that apple cart that you so carefully constructed and build a different one.
So cavalierly described, is that?
Carefully constructed, carelessly. We could go with the C words for a while.
Yes, and speaking of C words, it takes courage. Because you're changing your identity. You're changing how you look at yourself, who you think you are. But it is in that who you think you are that it becomes easier to do. Because you look at it and you say, okay, I don't like the way it's going on now. How do I go about this? How do I change my life? Most people look for things outside of themselves to do that. Oh, well, I'll change my job, I'll change my relationship, I'll change where I live. The real secret is to change who you are. You don't have to do big changes of who you are, but you look at it in terms of, okay, who do I want to be next? I might want to be somebody who is more affluent than I currently am. Or I might want to be somebody who's less affluent than I currently am, whatever it is. So you change how you view yourself. That's the easiest way. But as I say, you love things into being, but it is with your love and what it is that you are loving that you change yourself as well as the exterior reality.
We've been in and out of a lot of places that I would like to comment on.
Sure.
For me personally, I cannot believe in the biblical view of free will and believe in reincarnation at the same time. So for me, the past exists at all times, and so does the potential for the future. and the present. And we talk about these things, my reality of reincarnation and remembering all these things. If it's free choice, then we make the contracts on the other side before we come in so that we can shut down our conscious minds in order to endure the pain and the suffering and experience to get the lessons that we need to have to progress ourselves in terms of soul. What I've been doing is going back and changing the Akashic records and working with those throughout time. Now, when we talk about will, the word that comes up is motivation in terms of, being here. The self-motivation, right? And if we talk about we're doing all things by choice, we choose them, that means that we have to have ikea, we have to have consciousness to even know what's going on. And in today's world, with everything going so fast and the technology and the distractions, people, that aren't able to do this, they're going off in dysfunctional manners and acting out their childhood traumas and stories that are in the subconscious while they're triggering other people that are going off on their own past memories, right? So for me, the past is absolutely crucial and essential. I would not be alive today. I just realized it's 2014 because I've been gone since March 29th of 2010. I come in and out, but I've been able to operate my body by doing that, and in and out of hospitals and hospice and everywhere. And so this thing about time, you said, one of the things you said about Manala, and what came up to me is slowing down time. So the key for me is slowing down time in the present moment in order to get in touch with the things that are going on in my body, especially in my nervous system that runs everything, so that I know where the triggers are in my heart, in my mind, in the past, in the memories, in the mother's messages, in the ancestors, all the way through, all through the lineages, through my cultural self, and I know who I am, and I know what it is. And so what I've been doing is working with the DNA, the 10 inactive strands of the DNA, for several years now. And it's quite amazing, all of this. But I was trained in something, the ancient science of soul travel. So this criticism thing is off the table, totally. And I've had experiences with people that I can't get any of this through to them. And someone in particular who's lived here for decades that I just can't even believe. And so the only thing I can say now, I can't say anything, because the people profess love, but it's not love. It's really the opposite of love. I'm dealing with the laws of duality, right? Love, hate, black, white, all of that stuff. And the only thing I could possibly do to stop it all was every time the criticism and the insults would come, and they're vanity theft is what they are. Telling people who they are and, all that other kind of nonsense. The only way I was able to stop it was every time that phone, kept going on. Aloha!
Sure.
Aloha! But,
Sure.
I mean, very forcefully.
Yeah.
Not with that, but that's a different type, that's kind of a tough love.
Sure.
Right? Aloha, aloha, aloha. Now that's taken a few years, and it's getting there, and now the person's using Hawaiian words.
Wow.
You see? So this is, you can transmit. I believe that, the tone of voice is very important. And you talked about that when you said, I saw it as something else. Because we can't get to this forgiveness for healing without working out on all the anger and the resentments that are created through time, at least for me personally. And it is about the dreams. You can go in the dream state and do all of that stuff. And the truth will come out. It's going to come out. It's coming out. It's walking out everywhere. Nobody can hide it anymore, right? That was the thing you said. It was really relevant too.
I don't know.
You're the lion. That's behavior modification. And that was the person I'm talking about. And I did that for decades. Ignore or reward, and it didn't work. Because with the bear and the lion, and this person specifically, in real life, was a hockey player.
Okay.
There
You were getting angry, weren't you?
But I'm furious, and I'm so furious I'm still alive. And they're all shutting the coffin on my head, and I'm going, I'm still alive.
Okay. That may be. and I applaud you for that. But the trick to it, as far as I can tell, is to let go of that anger, because that's a choice. You do not have to choose anger.
It's been keeping me alive, and so now I can...
That may be, because it's better, anger is certainly better than depression.
Yes, definitely.
Okay, so that's likely to be what we're talking about here. But there are even better ways of staying alive than anger.
Oh, yes.
So-
Self-love.
Yes.
Yes, I know about it.
Okay.
That's what I do. Attack
Okay.
with all of them.
Okay. All right. Very good. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for letting me express myself.
I-
Make anything out of it.
I'm delighted you did. Thank you. Any other questions on the 7 principles? I think I could, just talk on the 7 principles, and we'd have a whole session here. But I'm not going to do that because I want to talk about 6 holds, and I'm calling them holds, kind of like a wrestler would. But there's 6 ways of holding something that are very useful in terms of being passively effective. So the first hold that I have, and it speaks to what Suzanne was just saying, is hold your tongue. Most of the time we forget about that. We want to fix something, we want to do something. People are criticizing us, and we want to criticize them back, and all this, that, and the other. We can be very effective by not saying anything. As we said earlier, criticism is not effective. Unsolicited advice is a form of criticism. This is one that we so often get tempted to say, oh, I see that problem. Here, let me tell you how to fix that. Hold your tongue. Because that's not helpful. If somebody asks you for advice, that's great. But if they don't ask you for advice, if you are offering that unsolicited advice, that's criticism to them. They're most likely, to take it as unsolicited advice, as criticism. And they're not going to like it. And they're not going to like you. Hold your tongue. And remember the angels. Angels I use as a metaphor for loving spirit. But it's a great metaphor. And angels won't help you, except on rare occasions, unless you ask. Because to do otherwise would be a form of unsolicited advice. It would be a criticism. It would be a violation of your free will. It would be a way of disempowering you. So you don't want to disempower others by telling them how to live their lives. They're exploring just like you are. They're doing their best just like you are. So let them be and hold them in your love. The second one is to hold space for others. This is a very useful one. This is one of the really nifty holds. Hold space for others. Allow others to do what they need to do. Within reason, but then, unless it hurts somebody. But without jumping in there and saying that that's not how they should be doing it, doesn't make any sense. What we want to do, with kids as well as our friends, as well as our family, probably especially with our family, let them do what they do. Let them be who they are. Hold space for them. And let it be okay for them to do that. Even if it is distasteful to us. We may not, that's a tough one. But it's a very effective way of being passive. Hold the space for others. And allow other people to feel what they're feeling without having to change anything. Let them feel what's going on inside. If they are feeling angry, fine. We may at some point want to point out that they don't have to feel angry. Most people get angry because other people aren't doing what the first person wants them to do. Usually that's a matter of expectations. We'll talk about expectations in just a moment. But you don't have to be angry. And they don't have to be angry. But to tell them that they don't have to be angry will make them angrier. So there's not much point in that. So just hold space for them and let them do that. And of course, be a good listener, to hold space. To just listen. not with an eye to how are you going to respond, not with an eye to letting them know what parts of what they're saying are correct or incorrect. Just listen. Clearly stay focused on the speaker. Let go of the need to respond. Let go of the need to fix anything. I know from the relationships that I've been in that I'm as guilty as any other man when a woman is expressing her feelings. I want to fix it. And that's the last thing she wants. She wants to be heard. And so that's holding the space for her without having to fix anything. Yeah, I know how to fix it. I know how to make everything right. No, that's not the issue. The issue is being heard. And allow yourself to react to what the speaker is saying without interfering with what they are saying. So just listen, just hold the space. Very effective way of helping them. Just hold that space for letting them say what it is that they're needing to say. I had a friend who was strongly considering and claiming that she was going to commit suicide. And my experience with her is not unusual. I know that lots of people who do suicide counseling find the same thing. That by just sitting there, not saying much of anything, and letting her go on and on and on and on about how terrible things were and how suicide was the only thing that made any sense. And by the time she exhausted herself, there was no more talk about suicide. So, I mean, I may have saved a life by not saying a bloody thing. So, I highly recommend that one. Another hold that's very useful is to hold questions in your mind. You have a question, big question about, what should I do, or what's the meaning of life, or what's the answer to life, the universe, and everything. Now that one's 42. That one's pretty easy. But nobody knows the Hitchhiker's Guide to. Oh my goodness. All right. Well, good. Hold it in your mind. Intuition will work with you when you hold something in your mind. Just keep it there in your mind. You don't have to be thinking on it, cogitating, but just keep the question there. And intuition will be answering. Generally, intuition works immediately. However, most people find that they are not ready to hear it immediately, so it takes some time. So the real thing that's going on is not Spirit is thinking about it and waiting to tell you the answer. It's mostly waiting for you to be ready to hear what it has to say. So it's there, but hold it in your mind and you can get the answers you're looking for. I love intuition, and it's very powerful stuff if you're willing to listen. And related to that is something called nalu, a Hawaiian form of meditation, which essentially is the same thing done in a meditative space. So you simply think about what it is that you want to know more about, hold it in your mind, and relax deeply until something changes within you. It may be an answer, it may be, depending upon what it is you're looking for, it may be an insight that comes. You may recognize that, there's the way around that one. Nalu is a terrific thing, and I do it just about every day. But it's a very useful Hawaiian meditation. How are we doing? Questions that I'm just sort of kidoki? The next hold number 4, is hold others in your love. Just simply hold them in your love. You don't have to be trying to do anything for them. This is very much akin to not fixing things. Just hold them in your love. And the more you can do that, of course, the more you love yourself. That's kind of the nature of love. Love, from everything I can tell, is not a transitive verb. We all talk about loving somebody else, we love something. But basically it is a state of consciousness that we get into when we think of somebody or something that we say we love. So I may talk about my departed mother and say I love my mother. Well, thinking about her helps put me into that space of love. But it's just being in that space that does the trick. And the more you can hold people in your love, the more you affect them, as well as yourself. So you can love or be in that space of love and just hold it without trying to do anything else, and that will have an effect on them. Very useful. One of the cool shamanic techniques that Serge uses is something that he calls la'akea. Now, la'akea is a Hawaiian word for divine light. And in this context, what it is that we find a color that we feel is representative of the feeling that we would like to project onto somebody else or some situation. So for instance, if you have an office that you work in and there's a lot of discord in the office, then you might want to use this la'akea, picking a color that you feel would be representative of the energy you would like to see there, say green, and you visualize a green fog that fills that whole office. You're holding people in that kind of love. You have decided what the energy is that you want. You're using an image, basically a thought form, if you will, that holds that energy there, and that will have an effect on others. If people are determined to be fighting, it may take a long time, but it doesn't necessarily have to. But it is an effective way of changing your reality by holding others in your love. The fifth one that I have is to hold positive expectations. Expectations are such funny creatures. Most of us are leery of expectations because we are tired of being disappointed. Disappointment, I want to remind you, is a choice. A choice to not like something. So if you go to your favorite restaurant expecting to have your favorite meal, and they haven't got any more of it, they've sold out for the night, so your first thing is you're likely to be disappointed. Well, so you're annoyed, if not angry, that they've run out. It wasn't their fault, but you still want to get angry about it. Well, that's your choice. You can respond in many different ways. You don't have to respond in anger. You can respond that that's an opportunity to try something new and get excited about that. So all of a sudden you can be happy. Your choice. Different story. But the thing about expectations is that they look like reality. We say that something is real, something is true, when we have no doubt of its existence or reality, right? Well, expectations are like that. We have expectations when we take out the doubt. When we have no doubt that something's going to happen, that's an expectation. So it looks like reality, but it ain't. And so we get unhappy Many times we don't have to, but we often get unhappy because somehow reality broke its contract. It was supposed to be different. We made it up. Expectations are things that we create. And they're very useful if we do it consciously. And so what I'm suggesting here is to hold positive expectations by expecting that things will work out well. Don't bother expecting other people to do things. That's a waste of time. People, most annoyingly, have free will. And so they're going to do what they're going to do. But you can expect that things will work out well for you. And that provides an energy for the reality that you're experiencing that is more powerful than hope, more powerful than intention, because you've taken the doubt out. So it is a very solid, wonderful energy that you can use to expect the best. And you'll hear me say that. Serge says it at the end of every talk story. Expect the best. Expect that things will work out for you. Expect that your life, as strange as it is doing everything that it's supposed to be. Why not? Very powerful stuff. So hold on to your positive expectations. And last one is hold long-term visions for yourself and for others. Hold your visions. Figure out how you would like to see things develop. We often do this with kids. We have visions of how we'd like to see their lives. And if we make an expectation out of it, then they're likely to disappoint us. But if we have a vision that they will be happy, that can be very powerful. And if we hold visions for ourselves, how we can create the lives, craft the life that we want, and hold that vision throughout our day, that can be very powerful. And to hold a vision of how the world could be, that's how we change the world. By holding the vision with love for how we'd like to see this world. So those are my 6 holds. And basically what we're talking about is vibration. We're looking at holding a vibration, and I use the word vibration as an analogy because I don't know exactly what it is. It seems like a vibration, feels like a vibration. But we hold these ideas, we hold these things, and that affects what we're doing. And how does it work? Well, we come from a place of kindness, caring, and love. And that, of course, is aloha. So we come from a place of aloha when we do all of these holds. We use these holds, we hold a thought for our desired outcome. Very important. Rather than look at it and say, oh, I want things to change. No. I suggest that you hold the vision of what you want. I want to be happy. There's a nice one. I want us all to get along. There's a good one. I want to make a little bit more money because I want to have more fun. Fine. Hold that vision. Hold the positive, not the negative. And hold that focus until things change. It may take a few seconds, it may take a few hours, it may take a few days, it may take a few years. It doesn't matter. Keep holding that vision. And so I have some rules that I use that I will share with you. I will never criticize you. I will always give you as much space as you need without hurting myself. I will always hold you in my love. I expect the best for both you and me. And I envision a happier world as more people learn to do these things. Any questions?
Well, another observation. I almost said earlier, Jim McGuinn of the Birds used to
Uh-huh.
say, Jim McGuinn
Yes,
of
yes.
the Birds used to say, I trust things will work out all right in all situations.
Yes.
They didn't always for him, but he always held that positive expectation. And it's something I've always carried with me, that desire for things to work out all right.
Yes. Good, thank you. In Huna we often say Iwap. Everything's working out perfectly. Sometimes differently, but it's always perfect. Well, very good. That's essentially the, oh yes, sorry, I thought that was a hand going up. Essentially the end of the talk story, except for a few things. One, this is a free meeting, and I hope you all know that. But we do a lot of things in Huna International. We pass out the little pink booklets, which are back there, and are free, about the power of Aloha, which is a very powerful way of loving things into being. And it is very useful. There's also a little blue booklet back there on Dynamind, a very useful healing technique. We pass that out. We do lots of healing things online. And there's a lot of effort that goes into trying to make this world a better place. So if you are so inclined, please feel free to show that in these little holes. Also, I'm going to do a little healing in a moment. And I invite you to take a piece of nature that are collected from around the world. Doesn't matter which one you take, just let it pick you. And we will use that in the, thank you, in the healing in just a moment. I like your thinking. Let's see if we can get more money out of them.
You have to hold people by their ankles.
And I should have, no, I'm going to grab this one. All right. So does everybody have, my lovely assistant back here, Sylvie, do you want a piece of nature? Okay, all right. So, hold on to your piece of nature. You can just set that right down, thank you. And look it over. And this is your ticket to the restaurant of the universe today. It's an unusual looking ticket, but it is a ticket. So I invite you now to hold on to your piece of nature and to close your eyes and go with me off to the buffet night at the restaurant of the universe. So let yourself go inside. There are two buffets at the restaurant of the universe. The buffet of misery and the buffet of love and happiness. You probably have dined at the buffet of misery enough to know what is offered there. Today is an opportunity to make a different choice. At the buffet of love and happiness is a vast table of wondrous things to feast on. There are big mounds of light and airy joy, long cakes of deep satisfaction, shimmering bowls of jolliness, steaming tureens of sweet comfort, and great platters of delicate kindnesses. There are fat dumplings of generosity, grand salads of sacred acceptance, frothy fountains of fun, and big ornate bowls overflowing with beauty. There are assorted tartlets of curiosity, wonder, and awe. Juicy berries of bliss with cream and sugar. Sweet-scented pâtés of compassion and care. Savory stews of success and service, and great baskets of benevolence. There are fine noodles of connection, spicy sauces of passion and excitement, rich bars of wisdom and discernment, and long, long kebabs of friendship. There are luscious pastries filled with patience and empathy, great trays of insight and understanding, enormous casks of cool forgiveness, fragrant pies of delight and pleasure, and tubs of laughter and giggles. Enjoy your feast. You can come back for seconds and thirds. You can take some home with you. All you need to do is choose what you want and accept it when it comes. Bon appetit. When you're ready, come on back. And let's pass the baskets again around. And go ahead. Before you put your stone in, though, give it a little bit of your breath, your energy. You've enjoyed the energy that is already in there from others, and now your energy will be there for others.